Without further ado, shall we discuss Horimiya?
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
Hello?
Hello!
Hello! Welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Misfit Podcast.
Yes. And if you're new around here, welcome. This is a regular series on the podcast. This is the anime of the month.
Exactly. And if you are from around here and have been following us the entire year so far, welcome to episode 9 of Anime of the Month.
Yes. This time we covered a romance.
Yeah, we're switching it up, you know? Look at us go.
We have done a good job. I think we're covering a good amount of different genres, if you will, that perhaps
reading the description for next month
will be interesting.
I'm excited, but also not.
But yeah,
anyways.
so this one, Horimiya
was
our September anime of the month. It was 13 episodes. We did only watch the first season. There is technically a second season. We'll touch on that later. We won't do any spoilers for the second season. Spoilers obviously ahead for the first season, as we will be going in depth on the series as a whole. If you want to join us for Anime of the Month, we do have a channel in the Discord that you can join by. You just have to react in our in the section for giving roles, and then you'll be in the Anime of the Month channel, and you can follow along with us, potentially even watch some episodes with us if you guys want. We want you guys to join in so you can give your 2 cents, and we can bring it up on the podcast if you would allow us to do so.
Exactly.
Without further ado, shall we discuss Horimiya?
Yes, so...
Want to just give the brief details
Yeah,
of the
I'll give
show?
some details. So we got Horimiya, originally aired back in winter of 2021. Studio is Cloverworks, the hit and miss studio. Genre, romance, school, slice of lifey.
I'd say it's romance school, yeah.
Yeah, the My Animalist score is sitting at 8.2. Based on, I should have brought how many.
This is based on a manga. Manga did start in 2011. Finished in 2021. It's about 139 chapters or so.
Yeah, so 869,691 users have scored this anime, and that's why it's an 8.2. The synopsis. On the surface, the thought of Kyoko Hori and Uzumi Miyamura getting along would be the last thing in people's minds. After all, Hori has a perfect combination of beauty and brains, while Miyamura appears meek and distant to his fellow classmates. However, a fateful meeting between the two lays both of their hidden selves bare. Even though she is popular at school, Hori has little time to socialize with her friends due to housework. On the other hand, Miyamura lives under the noses of his peers, his body bearing secret tattoos and piercings that make him look like a gentle delinquent. Having opposite personalities yet sharing odd similarities, the two quickly become friends and often spend time together in Hori's home. As they both emerge from their shells, they share with each other a side of themselves concealed from the outside world. Yeah, this anime had 2 main characters, obviously, Hori and Miyamura.
Yeah, Horimiya.
AKA,
But I'll
bunch
be
of
saying
supporting
Uzumi a lot
characters,
because that's
but-
just what he's called a lot through the show.
Yeah.
But there is a supporting cast as well. Diving in, I guess we'll go on initial thoughts. So my initial thoughts, thought it was great. Loved it. Definitely a lot of moments that you just like find yourself stupidly smiling.
Yeah.
You know, where you just catch yourself and you're like, why am I smiling? I shouldn't have happiness. But yeah, it's definitely a show that just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I would say overall, definitely a feel-good show. And the romance felt very natural, which made it feel realistic in a way.
Yeah, I think it didn't feel cliche.
Yeah,
I
like
think
you
that's-
knew it was going to happen,
Yeah.
but it actually felt very natural, felt very
The progression
unforced.
of it
Yeah,
was fine.
and it happened over time, which is nice.
Exactly. My initial thoughts, I didn't know anything about this anime going into it other than the general description we just read. I was intrigued right after the first episode on what the overall story was going to be. I thought the animation was pretty and clean overall. It's a manga I would definitely debate picking up.
Yeah, you kind of just want more, right?
Yeah.
So going in, we have the art style and character design. Overall, the art style was good. Character designs were pretty solid. There were some classic cliches followed, like we have colored hair and such. So to kind of separate the main cast, if you will. I did like how some of the cast members did have other quirks, though. Obviously, you have Izumi, who honestly looked great. I loved how he looked outside of school. It was almost actually a more unique looking character from a lot of shows. And obviously with a completely different personality to how he looks. Yuki always had the too long sleeves for her.
Yep.
Which was definitely one of like her quirks. And then a lot of the characters just had different hair color and eye color.
I mean, with a show like that, when it comes to the classic, I mean, I can't really say too much because I haven't seen too many high school Japanese anime shows.
They all stood out though, which is I feel like is important.
Exactly. I feel like some of the characters, especially when you have to wear similar clothes, it's easy to just be like, oh, is that person or like they're all distinctly different.
And some of them had very aggressive personalities to like, it was like a personality, but then that type of personality times like 3.
Yeah.
So that they really stood out more. I did like the character design choices overall. All of the main cast have very potent eye color that stands out. Izumi had his piercings, his tattoos. I do feel like later in the series when he starts not wearing his piercings, he almost lost a bit. We'll get more into the discussion of potentially some of the bigger arching storyline with that. But overall, I thought that the character designs were well done. They were cute, and they looked like they were high school students.
Easy peasy. I mean, pretty well similar thoughts to you. I got all characters look different, even the background characters. I thought the art style was good. It was clean. There was no like choppiness.
Yeah, no, it was very smooth. It was like not quite cookie cutter to a lot of anime, but it was on the verge where you can,
Yeah, I think my other point here is that I enjoyed the different versions of Miyamura just because it was kind of cool to...
to see his progression. And
there was different... Like, even with when it looks at the memories and when you see him at the end, when he sees his old self, basically, like, they are distinct different versions of him to show the progression of him as a character, which I thought was really good.
Yep, for sure. Animation, I didn't have too much to note on here. I said... Coldworks, sometimes they kill it, and then I said sometimes they kill it.
Sometimes some may be good, sometimes some may be shit.
Exactly. The dice was rolled, and thankfully it was a good one. It looked good. Obviously, we did not read the manga.
No.
I have talked to a few people who have. It does look like there were things skipped.
Okay.
To probably condense it into the 13 episodes it is. But with season 2, it's not like the sequel. It's filling in the blanks, which I think they took pieces that maybe were missing from the manga and put them in. It's a little harder to follow because it takes each episode's kind of at a different point in time.
Weird.
Where you're like, oh, okay, so if you finish season 1, you're like, okay, they graduated. But then the first episode of season 2 is before they're even in a relationship. And you're like, oh, okay, gotta go back, like before haircut. You're like, okay, I have to go back in time. What was the feelings like? What was the overall friend group feeling?
Do you think there's like a Reddit page or like some thread out there that says like
you put them in?
Yeah,
maybe?
like
I'm sure there probably
season
is.
1 and season 2. Like
I feel like if you've seen all of season 1, once you watch season 2, you can kind of be like, okay, yeah, this is okay.
Okay,
and
so if you've seen all of season 2,
and it does fill in. I've watched half of it. It does fill in, not plot holes. There isn't really plot holes, but it kind of helps develop certain moments better.
For also like the supporting characters?
Supporting characters as well, yeah. So I will recommend it. If you've seen it, you'll understand it as you go through. It just won't follow the exact timing to a T. But yeah, they did an all right job, I'd say. I'm like I said, I hadn't read the manga, so don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah, exactly.
But overall, it felt pretty well paced. It looked good. And it made sense.
Easy peasy. I think pretty well the same for me. I mean, the thing that I have it here and you didn't. We talked about this right before we started recording, but yeah, I found it odd at the beginning that all the eye colors were the same color as the hair color.
Yeah, I didn't notice that at first. I feel like I just have anime brain and some stuff like that just doesn't even get picked up. I'm just like, oh yeah.
Oh, it's normal.
That's what the character looks like.
Exactly, yeah. But in a way, it kind of made it because the main character had darker hair and like lighter eyes, so in a way it kind of made him stand out.
he stood out, a bit.
but nothing crazy.
Obviously, when he's in school, the purpose is for him to not, right?
Yeah.
But
From an animation design
his
/ character design, I
outfits
guess.
were great outside. Like I liked
Oh,
the
yeah.
way he looked a lot
Definitely.
outside of school. Going into let's jump to the plot and characters
Okay.
for okay. So, like we mentioned, haven't read the manga, so we only have the anime to go on. So, talking to some people, I understand that maybe some plots or maybe even like because it's episodic, right? So maybe some mini arcs are kind of taken out or whatever. Overall, I did find that it was pretty good.
Okay.
Nothing was really missing. The plot was overall, from a big picture standpoint, very simple, right? It wasn't an overly complex, although it had maybe some deeper themes if you look when you're looking for them. Yeah, they're there. But overall, the plot is girl meets a boy. Girl spends time with boy. Girl and guy fall in love after spending time together, after they realize, oh, maybe I do like this person, and end up together.
Classic.
I mean, that's like the big picture. That's kind of what happens. And if you want to go from Uzumi's point of view, it's loner makes one friend who helps make other friends.
Yeah.
And improve his whole life. Like, makes his high school life the complete opposite of his middle school life.
Yeah.
Which is very nice to see. This follows basically just their high school life, follows them from their first year to graduation. And yeah, I thought it's very easy to follow in terms of if you don't have to be searching for anything deeper. If you're just there to watch this romance blossom, you can enjoy the show.
Yeah.
It's not hiding anything. But if you look deeper, there are some nice things, which I'm sure we'll get into, that I thought they can hit home, I think, harder for some people, for sure. But yeah, overall plot is very simple. Popular pretty girl,
Loner
house
boy.
life, yeah.
I just have a lot of the characters had character depth, which is good. Like the core group, like I'd say like the main two and then four or five of the supporting characters, not to be confused with like the the extended cast, I guess you want to put it that way.
Are you including the student council and extended cast, I assume?
Yeah. Oh yeah, student council is an extended cast, yeah. Because I feel
so
like
you mean you're
extended...
talking about Uzumi, Hori, and then you're talking about Yuki and Ishikawa. Ishikawa's the purple haired.
Yep.
And that's the main cast. Maybe you could even throw in the green haired guy. I can't remember his name. Shu, I think.
Yeah, he pops up a little bit more.
He doesn't have so much involvement in any of the romance, but I think he's a pretty good character in terms of bringing that.
Yeah.
He does bring importance into bringing his sister and gets involved, and it affects the other characters.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily have a huge impact on the story.
I feel like he's in a similar character with like Hori's dad, where like he's there. He doesn't necessarily
he gives some
affect
comedic
the main
relief.
cast, but
he gives some comedic relief. He did show something in terms of at home with his sister. He's very like not to himself, but like very stern, and like comes off as like he cares about his sister, but he can't let people let him know
I would put him
he
in
cares.
the same supporting character section because like he
And
did
then
have
at
character
school,
development.
he's gung ho. He's just like extrovert.
Yeah,
which is why it's funny when his sister sees him all super extroverted, and she's like, "You are my brother, right?
Who are you again?" Yeah. So I think the main characters, the small group of supporting characters,
The group of four, yeah.
the group of four, arguably the dad. But outside, we'll get into this more in the negatives versus the positives kind of thing. But like school council is the extended cast that don't really have too much character development. The story was fun and relatable at parts, in brackets, bully and trauma, LOL.
Yeah.
Which we don't have to go into. But I think the way the story was told in like the flashback sequence, I thought that was really good because you're learning about the character as the story goes on, being like, oh, this is why he
gives you a comparison to him, and it doesn't just happen because it does a big one at the end where he kind of goes, oh, what would high school have been like if I never met her?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments.
Right?
We'll get into that,
and
but
it goes to that. But throughout the show, we bump into people that bullied him in middle school. or that one friend he had in middle school that actually didn't care that he was a loner, that stood up for him anyways.
Yeah.
And you just kind of is a nice way of being like, kind of comparing as things got better and better for him, for Uzumi as he goes through his high school journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throughout the season, you do see all the characters kind of grow together. You learn more about each individual one as you go, because there are episodes that kind of cover the side characters a bit more in depth, which some people love.
I was 50-50 on it, in all honesty.
It depended on the character,
Yeah.
I think, is one thing. You had to like the character. If you didn't like it, you're kind of like, I don't really care for this. Where's Hori and Uzumi? Like, that's what I want to see. I think we see Uzumi slowly grow out of his shell. And this is obviously due to Hori. And I would say Hori's family as a whole, not just singular Hori.
Yeah, I mean, her little brother is the domino
catalyst.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the catalyst of everything. And in this, I relate like his piercings are almost like his shell or like a defense system that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And as he gets more and more comfortable with not just Hori and her family, but then the fellow students that he's becoming friends with, you start to see him have less and less piercings outside.
I would say even like his whole entire look, like with his hair and his glasses and everything too.
Cutting
like,
the hair.
Exactly.
Yeah. And cutting his hair because he didn't like that everyone's like bugging Hori about why would she be with this person. He wanted to look more presentable, if you will. And obviously he all of a sudden he cuts his hair and all the girls are like, oh my gosh, he's so beautiful.
Wow.
The piercings definitely were some sort of guard for him. And as those relationship builds, he doesn't need them. But I did think it took away from some of his look.
I do agree. Yeah.
I did like the way
I kind of like the Jekyll Hyde situation.
Yeah.
Not Jekyll Hyde, but like.
But like he looks like this loner, like to himself guy, and then all of a sudden, boom! Not that he isn't. He still had that
the
personality.
first episode, Hori doesn't even recognize him, which I think is great.
The perfect example of don't judge a book by its cover,
Exactly.
right? If you were people see him outside of school, they would be like,
they would have no
especially
idea.
the tattoos. They'd be like, oh, is this guy a delinquent, a gang member? What's going on here? And he's just the nicest dude. Just is so to himself. And
Well, I think that's where the two main characters have that parallel, because she's obviously so popular at school and he's the loner, and outside of school
she's very to herself.
She's very to herself.
With
Like
her family.
it's
tight
almost
with
like
her family.
extroverted to introverted and then introverted to extroverted.
Yeah, and I thought that what was really done well with Hori is that Hori is a tsundere, but she's more of a realistic tsundere where she's not she's aggressive, but she's not unrealistically like almost to an intolerable level of aggressive. She blows her top off pretty easily, and she'll resort to violence or just, talking smack and calling someone an idiot, baka, and over and over and over again. But it almost felt more real and natural compared to a lot of anime tsunderes that we're used to. Tsunderes. But that was the show overall. A lot of natural, more relatable feeling story aspects or themes. Because, like we said, the romance, we start off by Uzumi saves her brother or helps her brother. Then it goes into, okay, well, you don't have to leave, like, stay. They get to know each other, and she's like, wow, this is not who I expected this person to be. Then they hang out more, and then they hang out more, and then all of a sudden he's, like, being asked to stay over.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going, and then she's like, I don't really care if people know we hang out in school. So then she's hanging out with him in school, and people are like, what's going on? And then it just keeps going and going. And this happens over months and then years within the story.
Yeah.
It's not just like he changed.
There's a gradual pace to it.
It starts with them hanging out and just hanging out after school every day. And then it slowly works into, okay, we're hanging out at school and at home. And it just keeps working up naturally. Then they're both like, like we have feelings, but we're not telling the other one we have feelings. Or like, maybe I don't know. Do I feel that way about them? And then slowly works its way up to, they do. And then it's about telling people that they're in a relationship. I thought the way the show handled them coming out, because they never said, oh yeah, we're together.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was always, oh, are they together? And then one of them would be like, yeah, no, we're together. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was one of the characters wanted to confess to Uzumi about that they were liked him, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this. Is that all right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And Hori's like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't like own him or whatever." And then all of a sudden, as the character's walking away, she's like, "No, you can't. He's mine."
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, "Okay, does he know that? You should tell him." And then obviously through school, she's like, "Yeah, no, we are together." She stands up, and it's kind of like, it's really sweet.
Yeah, it's cute, but it's kind of like a big deal, but also not.
I guess, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is, but it's not, but it is.
It is what it is. We can just transition right into like the positives before we jump into the negatives here. But yeah, I think kind of what you're saying along, and I have it right here, is just the story was well written and relatable. If you've gone through similar things / feelings, i.e. the bullying, the feeling of not being good enough, how do you tell everyone you're in a relationship? How that whole, like, if you're dating someone, whether it be in the same class as you or the same school as you, like that tension between all that, you know, the comfortability of telling people you're in a relationship.
Apologizing to people that you've done wrong to.
Exactly.
There was the character who, the rabbits, he forgot to feed the rabbits, and then he blamed it on Uzumi, and then just made him more shunned out.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming to terms with, you know, that was my fault, and it's never, you know, obviously there is a point where it's too late to apologize, but in certain high school situations, you know, getting to the point where you're like, I should apologize to that person because that was my bad, and I, you know, caused some extra stress. The only thing I didn't like about some of those middle school characters that returned, and they just instantly start bullying him again. Like, he's clearly on a, like, not a date, but with a girl, like, together, and then they just start ripping into him. Just, is
that when Hori stands up for him?
Yeah,
and just
she
Hori
beats the crap out of
loses
him.
it. Yeah.
And you're just like, but why?
Yeah.
Like,
what's the point?
Because then instantly they're like, oh, like, we'll leave him. And it's just like, but why is your first initial thing to see the guy that, okay, he's not the big loner he was in middle school. Why is that a problem?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. Kids are just evil. You know, like, they're just not good people.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, which is just, I guess that's realistic, but it just felt so like, why?
Yeah.
Why even bother? Just leave them alone. You're not friends, so there's no reason to go and talk to him or bug. They're not even talking. They're just shitting on him.
Exactly. Easy. Simple.
Yeah. So for positives for me, I said, I feel like there was a character in the show that someone like almost anyone could relate to, like whether it's people in the side, like in the side cast or the main cast. There's someone that has a similar thing that you can relate to, whether it's their personality or something they're going through. It's definitely a good story of how to not judge a book by the cover and the iceberg effect, where just because you think you know someone or see someone for something doesn't mean you know everything that's going on. I felt like that was a big element within it. And it went for multiple characters, actually. It didn't just affect the main cast, but it affected the mentality of some of the side characters and how they were dealing with the development of Hori's relationship.
Yeah.
Because the first instance of real drama within the series is that within the friend group, we have Ishikawa, who has a crush on Hori. And Uzumi says, go for it. Go and tell her, like, there's nothing going on. We're just friends hanging out. And he goes and tells her, and she denies him.
Yeah.
But then slowly, obviously, Uzumi and Hori end up together. And we follow Ishikawa, who throughout the show has to come to terms with basically that there is no way he's ever going to be with Hori, but he still has feelings for her.
Yeah.
And how does he deal with those feelings? Who does he end up going after? We obviously see someone admit their feelings to him, but he lets them down. And that's another good lesson within the show, which is this character who was part of the student council, she knew that he wasn't into her.
Yeah.
But she faced her fear and did it anyways. And it was like a giant weight off her shoulder after she did it. It hurt at first, but then she felt a lot better.
Easy.
And that's another like big lesson is like, you know, you can't be scared. You just gotta go for it.
Gotta bite the bullet.
If they don't like it, you don't want to be with that person anyways. If they don't like you, why would you want to be with that person?
100%.
So some really great just
life
lessons in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I'm like, that goes for both happy and gloomy feelings within the show that people can relate to.
Negatives. I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
We kind of touched upon this, but it's the extended cast just had lackluster character development, like the school council.
I thought the president and that one girl Remy were okay. because they get an episode.
Yeah.
Remy goes, she's the main commentator of the episode, and she describes the president and what he's like and what she has done to make him feel more comfortable and what he's done to help her feel more comfortable. And you kind of get their story and how they ended up kind of together.
Yeah.
It was okay. It's just like you said, I don't particularly care for any of the student council members.
Yeah, it was just kind of outside of that core group. I'm like, why?
Honestly, for the most part, it could have been solely focused on Uzumi and Hori with the tidbits from Ishikawa, and I would have been fine.
Yeah.
It would
Even like if they got half an episode, I'd be a little bit more okay with that. Because it's just
it would
like
have been really cliche to just see Ishikawa ends up with Yuki and they're a group of 4 and 2 and 2.
Yeah.
And you kind of need the extended cast. I just didn't need all of the episodes focusing around the
school council extended cast. Yeah. This kind of answers my question from what you've kind of already talked about, but I feel like the story felt a tad rushed in the sense that it kind of connects to this feeling of the timeline, which I found the timeline of the story not necessarily hard to follow at parts, but with there being like just random time skips in between the episode, I found I was like, okay, so wait, so how long have they been together now? Or like, how many people know? Did they not know?
It doesn't follow like your typical, oh, it's only been a day or it's been 2 days. There's definitely moments in which we skip seasons or we're like go from one point and all of a sudden we're at a festival.
Yeah.
So you do need to have an understanding of a little bit of Japanese culture and what festival is happening at what time, because that'll help you kind of figure out what point you are through the year. I think the second season also does fill in a little bit of holes in terms of time period, but I think overall that's just the way the story's told, is just moments.
Yeah.
Right? It's told through, we're not following them week by week. We're following them kind of month or two at a time, going through their story through high school. So I do think, knowing that there is the second season, which does cover it, it does feel like why not just do a 24 episode season, cover it all more in a chronological order.
Yeah.
Maybe that would feel better. But it is what it is. It's definitely, like you said, it's not a harsh negative. It doesn't make the show unwatchable, or it just takes you out slightly in terms of you need to really think and be like, okay, so where are we now? What month is it? Where were we earlier?
Yeah.
But I wasn't too thrown off by that personally, but I can definitely see how that could throw someone off. I have that, like we mentioned, most side characters didn't care for. Whenever we're getting an episode about them that wasn't the main 2 characters, I was kind of like, it was taken out a bit. But I feel like that can change person to person. If you like some of the side, like the other members of the cast, then that won't bug you as much.
Yeah.
I said these episodes, this is about the side characters, felt like they lacked any build up, which is similar to what you were saying, maybe with the second season can help, where it didn't build into the episode where we were focused on them.
Yeah.
If a previous episode kind of hinted at, okay, this, and then we jumped into an episode more about them, it would have felt a little bit cleaner. But it's not here nor there. I said I'm interested in Ishikawa because I found that the drama between him and Hori was interesting. That Uzumi, quote unquote, won, and he had to kind of figure out what he wanted to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And then, however, the entire student council I didn't really care for. There was the Honoka episode, which was relevant, but I didn't care for. Shu had no romantic interest. He was more of a gay character, like you said. He had charisma. But yeah, I think some of the cast was a little lacking. I think this is the biggest negative. I did like the dad a lot, and if you've ever seen Clanad, he has a very similar vibe to the dad in Clanad.
Okay.
Not so much because they make, in this story, the dad seems more of like I don't know, they treat him more like he's like not part of the family at times or something.
He's like more like the big bro, like that shows up every once in a while, and definitely not the father figure.
Yeah. But in Clanad, the dad is definitely more hardcore father figure, always there for his daughter. But the one thing that is similar is they're both so welcoming of the boyfriend. Like they just are like, welcome to the family. But
Come on in here.
But then they'll be like, but you're, treat my daughter with respect. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like, turn on, like, the dad mode. But yeah, he gave off that energy from the Clan I Dad as well, if you've ever seen that.
Another thing too is I kind of wish we had a little bit more of like Miyamura's family.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't
because
really-
he didn't have a bad family life, it seemed like, at all, right?
Yeah,
Like, we
but-
see his mom have a heart-to-heart with him about the one character who lost her brother. Who
Yeah,
she only really was important for that one episode she was there, and then kind of just fell off.
yeah.
Even though she went to his house and... Anyways,
Does that
but
explain
yeah,
more in season 2 maybe?
we see the mom give that news to him, and then we see that he's helping during holiday season at their
Shop.
bakery.
Yeah.
And
That's
but it doesn't
basic-
seem like he has a bad home life at all.
No, it sounds like he's fine. I just found it like when I was watching, I was like, why are you staying at her house so much if you're in high school? Like, where's your family, man?
I mean, that's every anime character.
Yeah, true.
Where are your
but-
parents?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting to see how his character is, like, in terms of very loner, bullied. Makes you wonder how much he talked to his parents, or were his parents just too busy and he didn't want to bother them. Would be interesting to get kind of that backstory. But we did not get too much on his family. But I
Yeah.
agree, it would have been nice to get some.
Before we move on to final thoughts, recommendation, and enjoyment, we can touch upon the music quick. I found the overall score, it fit the scene, it helped push the story forward. There was no parts where I was like, this is a terrible music choice. The ending I found was a cute outro of animation.
I thought when I saw the ending, I was like, Matt's gonna like this, even though it wasn't claymation.
it was inspired.
It was definitely inspired by claymation,
Yeah.
and it was a loop.
Yeah.
Where you started with Hori going to bed, waking up, meeting with Uzumi, going to school, coming back home, and getting ready for bed, and it just would have began again if you just kept watching.
It was cute. I'll be honest with you, I think I listened to the opening once, but that's just because of my Crunchyroll things. Like,
Oh, you're just skipping the open because you have it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it just
fair
does it automatically for me, and I was like, and I like have to go back. I'm like, no, what was the
Yeah, I
opening
went
sound
back
like?
before recording. I went back earlier today to just double check the opening and closing. Opening's solid, very fitting, chill, nice collage of scenes of depicting the entire
Yeah.
cast, with some focus on Uzumi being a bit by himself. There's
Mhm.
always taking moments to show like his past self or his current self, but by himself, which I feel is important to note. So you keep registering, okay, how much has changed for him. Overall, I thought the OST, like, it was good, but it wasn't like memorable. Like, it wasn't unreal.
Yeah.
It was just, I feel like I only notice when the soundtrack is bad, when it doesn't fit. If you just help amplify the feelings that you should be having in those moments, then you're doing your job.
Exactly.
But it didn't have any songs or anything that like I would
Or like
remember.
off cues, too
Yeah.
many weird sounds in random spots. Yeah, like everything fit. The music played at your heartstrings in the right way.
And it's but just nothing that would like stay in your brain. Like when I think of Your Name or even Suzumi, like I can just
Goosebumps.
I can remember the songs.
Yeah.
Like I can just do. I just know, like
Yeah.
and it's not because I've seen it more. It's just because it just stays in your head.
Well, that's what I mean. Like some of the best scores and like some of the best sound sequences are because of that. Like the first ever Imperial March with Darth Vader, or the Jaws music with the dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun. Like it's just, there's certain things that will always be memorable.
No, and that's the thing, right? Like, and I'm not saying it has to be that way. It's just because that doesn't mean it was bad. It just means it didn't have anything. Nothing was Duel of the Fates level. Of,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm gonna,
The way I look at it
I
is
liked it
if-
so much. I'm gonna find it on Spotify.
Yeah,
and put it
exactly.
in a playlist.
I think if you can do music into a show like this to help push the story forward and it not be jarring and just it exists.
it helps
then-
amplify the feelings. Like
Exactly.
there were definitely moments in this show which, with help of the music, like I was getting goosebumps, like
Yeah.
hair up, and you're like, and like feel good goosebumps, not like goosebumps where you're just like cringing or like
I don't think there's really a moment overall that I was like, oh.
No, yeah, it was very good. Definitely a lot of just goosebumps in like a good way, where you're like, oh, I just want to go hug someone.
Exactly. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it.
Did you go off and recommend it to anyone? I started recommending it to people that
I haven't
haven't
recommended
seen
it too much because I was realizing. Well, actually, no, I recommended it to Christian
Oh, nice.
because he's the one that I know for a fact listens to our Anime of the Month episodes, and like I even saw him over the weekend. He's like, yeah, so I listened to the Hot Taxi. He's like, that sounds like a good show. And I was like, yeah, man.
Hot Taxi was a good show.
I was like, you should watch the one we're watching right now. Like,
I know, and you're someone who, for the most part, has watched a lot of shonen,
more shonen based. On the top of my head, outside of Your Name, Weathering with You, and Suzume,
which are movies.
The only thing I can think of on the top of my head is Your Lie in April.
Yeah,
which would be the closest thing because it's this high school slice of life, romancy.
I think you can take someone who watches a lot more shonen, and you can still appreciate the show. Like, you can still enjoy it.
Definitely.
It might maybe not be your cup of tea, but when you start watching and you really connect with the characters, which I think a lot of people will, you're done the show in no time.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it over 2 days, and if I started it earlier the first day, I probably would have been done it in the first day.
I think I enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down, per se, except when I got to those episodes of, like, the supporting characters, and I was like,
Yeah, you were kind of like,
yeah.
Give me the good stuff.
Exactly.
Really, give me Hori. I don't care about you side characters.
Yeah, exactly. Get away. I'm like going through the list of
and it's not that they're bad. It's just that the main two were so good.
Yeah.
Like they were just. It felt so natural. It just felt so right having them together, and it didn't feel forced. Forced. I know we keep repeating the same thing, but that's
a big thing though.
It feels like especially in anime, especially in shonen, people be getting paired off, and it feels very forced at times. This just felt so clean, so natural. It just made sense. You're happy about it. Like, yeah, there were losers, but they deserved to lose because it was never meant to be for them.
Exactly. Yeah, I really don't think I've seen too many romance slice of life. I'm just like looking through my list here quick. That's not movies. Yeah, I mean, the only other slice of life when it's not romance at all really is Violet Evergarden, but that took me forever.
Yeah, valid. Yeah, so overall, I also really enjoyed this series. I wish there was more. I think I might actually pick up the manga just to read it, see what maybe was missing.
Yeah.
And just to feel those feelings again.
I mean, in comparison to manga, I've read I Want to Eat Your Pancreas.
Yeah.
Like, that is...
And I Want to Eat Your Pancreas is so...
condensed.
Well, it's condensed, but it also is like... Kind of not a satisfying manga.
Yeah.
Or movie. Like, it's decent, but it's not... It's definitely not a feel good... It's not a feel-good one. But it's not satisfying. Okay, yeah. I mean, there are satisfying moments within Your Lie in April. But, yeah, I thought that this one was... I see why people say it's one of the best romances.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have any of that extra...
unneeded stuff.
Yeah, unneeded things. It's just... cuts down right to it, what it means to grow together and to learn about someone and then fall in love with that person.
See, I would recommend this to people, but like that are watching anime, but I don't think I'd recommend it as their first like romance slice of life.
Not their first romance?
No, because I feel like this is really great. I think, but the thing is, it's almost like not necessarily the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood effect in the sense that like
you don't want to overhype it.
You're going to be comparing all of your other romances to this show.
I see.
Kind of thing. Because I feel like if you're
you should.
I agree, but...
You should hold... If your main genre is romance...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Then I feel like you should be holding... You should want to be like this. This is what those shows should strive to be like.
Yeah, if it's your main thing. I mean, like, a lot of the shonens I always compare it to Brotherhood and Fate Zero and Fate Cinema Blade Works.
That's what you compare everything to?
Well, just animation style,
okay.
I think, sometimes. Not necessarily story.
Full Metal Alchemist, great story, though.
Yeah, great story for Full Metal Alchemist. We're going to tell you.
It's like not a bad episode of that show.
No. Unless you watch the original.
No, the original's got a lot of great shows, too. Great episodes, too. It's just different ending because the manga wasn't done yet.
Exactly. Anyways, as someone who hasn't really watched a lot of slice of life romance school shows, I'd recommend it to others. I think it's a great, nice introduction to romance, but also
could get you wanting to
exactly
see more.
I said it was a nice romance school life story without it being all over the place, adventurous, etc. My anime list doesn't do like 0.5s or anything, but I did 8.5.
Yeah, I see an 8.5. I think I gave it an 8 on my anime list. I can see definitely 8.5 as well. It's just really solid. Like, hard to really, rip it apart for anything. It just is a really sweet story. If you want a show that just makes you feel good, like, it's perfect. Characters were done well.
Yeah.
Characters were cute. Not much else to say.
That's all I can really say, yeah. Now,
But yeah.
drum roll.
Okay, so we're in October, which I don't know if you know
Spooky
this.
month.
Some people don't celebrate Halloween, but here in the Canada, we do.
Canada.
In Canada, we have Halloween. And Halloween, we thought, why not try and find something that's a little bit more fitting for the month?
So how'd you come across? Is this the one that we literally just Googled?
Yeah, I Googled, I've heard of this show, and if you know, you know, because I mentioned it to Gray. I was like, oh, we're going to be watching this for October. And he was like, oh, like the horror anime? And I was like, yeah, because Halloween. And he's like, oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah, go. Yeah, it's good. So it is a horror anime. This will be my second, I think, horror anime. I'm sure some of the anime I've seen probably have horror within their tags or whatever, but they weren't exclusive to being a horror. This one is horror's the first. So, and this is Mononoke.
Mononoke.
Not Princess Mononoke.
Just Mononoke.
Mononoke. So, yeah, this is a aired in 2007. So, it's definitely not young. By Toei Animation.
12 episodes.
12 episodes. It is on Crunchyroll. I'm excited. I mean, I am not a horror fan overall, but I'm
Sitting
interested.
at an 8.4.
Yeah, it's pretty high rated. I am an anime fan, so I am intrigued to see how it's handled.
Exactly. Give you a little description here.
Yeah, go ahead.
The medicine seller is a deadly and mysterious master of the occult who travels across feudal Japan in search of feudal. What did I say? Feudal.
Like a poodle.
Feudal Japan in search of malevolent spirits called Mononoke to slay. When he locates one of these spirits, he cannot simply kill it. He must first learn its form, its truth, and its reason in order to wield the mighty exorcism sword and fight against it. He must begin his strange exorcism with an intense psychological analysis and careful investigative work. An extremely dangerous step, as he must first confront and learn about the Mononoke before he has the means to defeat it. The medicine seller's journey leads him to an old-fashioned inn where Shino, a pregnant woman, has finally found a place to rest. The owner has reluctantly placed her in the last vacant room. However, as she settles in, it quickly becomes clear that the room is infested by a lethal band of Mononoke, the Zashiki Warashi. Hope I said that right. With his hunter's intuition, the medicine seller begins his investigation to discover the form, the truth, and the reason before the Zahiki Warashi can kill again. Dun, dun, dun.
There's a lot going on there. So definitely got some mystery elements to it. Obviously, I'm sure it'll be very interesting, some of the Mononoke and how they appear. Based on the cover art, I think we're in for a very stylized show.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I'm looking at my anime list, and it's like related entries, and there's like 5 different mangas for it.
Oh, dear.
So it's just different arcs. Okay, this makes sense. I don't know which arc we're going to be following.
Well, you and the rest of the fellow Misfits out there will find out. As we watch it through October. So yeah, once again, if you're not already, join us in the linktree, join our Discord, and you can join watching the anime of the month with us, and we'll talk about it on the last week of October. So that means you have the last week of October to catch up and watch it. So
until then, thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell, comment what you thought about the anime, if you've seen it, if you're gonna watch it, if you're gonna skip it, etc. Like Connor said, join us, Linktree, everything's there. Join us in the Discord, participate, have a grand old time. And until then, we'll see you next week.
See you Wednesday.
Bye.
TNMP. the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you, and see you next week.